All right.
Good morning.
Morning from sunny Los Angeles, California. No, I'm just kidding.
It is 8:52 in the morning and approximately
Wednesday.
55 degrees out.
The weather actually changed up a lot because these past few months, it's been pretty rainy.
Yeah, and guess what? It's going to rain again.
It is?
Ooh, I think like Friday and Saturday it's going to be raining, and then again like next week.
I hope. Well,
I love the rain when I don't have to do anything. Like when I can stay home. Then it's great.
yeah.
Pound away.
Pound away.
Oh, we're on opposite sides. We switched. So
I know,
I'm
yeah.
Brian.
And I'm Melinda. But what was I gonna say? Oh yeah. So the rain is great, but it also kind of sucks because I had to replace my spark plugs and like 2 ignition coils in my car, which was a little expensive, but because water got into the intake, so it's probably from the heavy rain. But yeah,
It was just another car
issue because I recently fixed the transmission, so we rebuilt the transmission in the car because it's an old car, but right now I feel like I don't want any extra monthly payments, so I was like, it just
He
makes
wants to
more
get
sense
his full use out of his car before he looks into another one.
trying to take
That's
it
what
to
it
500,000 miles.
Let's see. You're not even halfway there, but
I heard there's a show that Jim Jeffrey did called Legit. It's on FX or Hulu. It's really funny, but he makes like little jokes about America while he's here and stuff, and it's just like so funny.
oh yeah.
But he was
when
like-
I came here yesterday, you were watching
Yeah,
it.
he's like at a baseball game, and he's like, "Your country's breeding stupid people with confidence." He's like, "You guys are number 34 in education and all this shit."
Honestly, yeah.
Yeah, it's just funny. But so today we're gonna
Not
do
all of us, but
yeah.
we have our moments. I'm sorry, we do.
We do,
We're
do.
like, yeah, that sounded smart.
And
we're
I
like, that was not smart at all.
Yeah, I don't think it's bad to be confident, but then I don't know. Yeah.
If it's I feel like a lot of people are like that though.
Yeah.
In Western
Civilizations.
Yeah. That is our special guest, Moose.
Or
You
house
hear
sitting,
little-
yeah. And he likes to walk around a lot, and he has a lot of energy, and you can hear his little nails on the hardwood floor.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
You're going to hear him, I'm sure, unless you can cut it out. But it's fine.
Um,
Okay, thanks for watching. Our intro hopefully got in there somewhere amongst us talking. And this is
Oh, yeah.
episode, 55? I
Good.
really don't know, is it?
I think it's 56.
It's one of the 50s.
Yeah.
And thank you. Please hit that. I have to say it because I'm on this side. Hit that subscribe button. Go to our vlog channel. And please subscribe.
Run it up.
because
Run it up.
That channel takes way more editing and time than this channel. And we love them equally. But please go match that energy over there.
Yes. Please. And thank you.
And thank you to the people who have emailed us. We have read them. We haven't had a chance to get back. But I don't know. Like I was telling Brian last night, it baffles me that people take the time out of their day to like actually send us an email. Like they think that we are worth their time. So I appreciate that. I know Brian does. And yeah, it's nice to connect with people on different sides of the world. So
It is. So keep it coming and keep them following and likes.
keep them following and likes.
All right. So today we're going to do a video called Why the US Can't End Poverty. And it just came out actually yesterday. So this is
It's
very
because
new.
there's a bunch of greedy people in
Well,
this country who think
so-
that human rights are luxuries. That's why.
Let's look at these issues, and then from your guys' perspective, you can kind of mention how it's done where you're at, and if it's better or what's more beneficial. But yeah, all right. Let's see why the U.S. can't end poverty.
37.9 million. That's the number of Americans currently living in poverty, accounting for 11.6% of the total population. That's despite the fact that America ranks first as the richest nation in the world in terms of GDP.
The United States is known for having this great abundance, and at the same time, alongside that abundance, there is widespread poverty and economic insecurity.
Sometimes you question, we're in the United States of America. How can the citizens be going through such a issue. We always boast that we're a superpower, that we are the richest in the world, and things just don't make sense.
They don't.
Poverty in the US had been steadily improving over the past decade. From a height of 48.8 million people living in poverty in 2013 to 34 million in 2019. That was until the pandemic
Yeah.
changed
I was going to say it
its
got worse,
course.
probably.
COVID absolutely had a very deep impact on the access to employment and long-term employment for a number of families that were already vulnerable for various reasons.
Prior, it was myself and my two older brothers, along with my stepdad, that constantly worked to provide for everyone in the house. But after COVID-19 and the whole lockdown, we were laid off. And ever since then, we have had issues finding a job.
Poverty is expensive.
Yeah, I think it's way more difficult than people portray. Obviously, I think there's certain jobs that people get very lucky that they weren't impacted with job insecurity. Like
You mean job security?
they weren't affected with like
Their job weren't on the line.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that the people that do have to deal with it and did have to deal with it kind of get brushed under the rug a lot, and they don't talk about it as much. But I don't know. I have a feeling there's going to be a lot more layoffs soon.
Well, that's like predicted, right?
Yeah,
That-
because
there's already a lot of there's been a lot of huge layoffs. I think a lot of companies got in over their head hiring right after the pandemic,
yeah,
and then now they're like, crap, we actually can't afford all these people and the salaries that we promised them, all these like sign-on bonuses. Like, people were desperate for workers after the pandemic. So then I don't know. It's just, I just feel there's a common theme of like acting before thinking in this country. Everything is just like not thought out, not pre-planned. You know, obviously you can't can't predict a pandemic, but like you should have an action plan for if there was one.
Well, supposedly
thanks,
we
Trump.
did. Yeah, so that's what I was gonna say. Apparently we did have like
Apparently
an action
Obama
plan,
had one,
but
and Trump
got
just
rid
said
of it.
fuck off.
What are the odds though that right before a pandemic he gets rid of it?
That's what I'm saying. It's like
It feels so
it's
weird.
all pride. Everything comes down to money and power in this country, and pride.
Money, power, and respect.
But you're not gaining respect by
It was
being...
a joke. It's Scarface.
Anyway, sorry.
Right.
About 11% of the federal budget, or $665 billion, goes to economic security programs. Child poverty alone is estimated to cost the U.S. over $1 trillion, based on the latest research from 2018.
There are also really high costs on an individual level. Poverty leads to more anxiety, it leads to more stress, it leads to more health problems, all kinds of things that amplify the effect of poverty.
The feelings that you would usually encounter when you're in this position is mostly depression. Why can't I find a job? Why are we in this situation? You know, we're trying our best, and sometimes it's just falling back down on our face.
So how did poverty become such a big issue in the United States? And why is it so difficult to end it? Income inequality is one of the big reasons why the US suffers from such high rates of poverty. The income for the top 10% was more than 13 times higher than income at the bottom
Fucking
10%.
insane.
That's where it's like, what's the statistic where it's like, the 1% of the like top of the country own like the whole, like almost all the wealth in the
yeah,
country.
I remember you saying that. It's absurd. It's absurd.
So it's just like at the very top you have this small percentage of people that hold
Own
everything,
everything,
and
yeah.
then little bits just come down. But in reality, it's like it's crazy. Like there's an excess of money to people who don't need it, and like they don't need that amount.
They don't.
And it's like a part of me thinks like,
There's no ethics behind anything.
well, I mean,
There isn't.
I think it's good to have people want to be successful and make money, but when it gets to a point where you have like Elon,
You're
or
just
them, it's
hoarding
like,
wealth at one point. Like,
Because
if you have
yeah.
enough to provide for your family and to live a luxurious life and to have 12 houses and how many boats, like, you don't need that.
yeah.
Have enough that you can still, you could still live a luxurious life for you and your family, and there could still be money that can be trickled down
Yeah, I mean,
to other people. But I don't know.
there's some conflict because Biden is trying to pass something that's like there's a specific tax on people who make more than 400,000 a year. And people don't like that. But also it's like,
but like also where is that tax?
that's what I'm
go?
saying.
Because if it's not lifted off like poverty level people, then does it like where's it going? If you're just taking it and it's going to go to other things that like aren't going to benefit the population, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You know, like that money needs to be allocated to
The right
people
places.
that deserve it,
Yeah.
and to making sure everyone here has a job, has a house, has food, like, you know, like shelter. Like it just, I don't get it.
Well, I think the thing is like people say like, well, people don't deserve handouts. They don't deserve free, like just to get paid for.
Nobody
everything.
deserves a fucking yacht. Nobody deserves a mega mansion.
I think
that's what you don't deserve. I don't
it's-
care what you've contributed to this world.
I think a solution to that is
sorry
to give like just things like to help them like just get by enough and then work up from there. Don't just pay for everything for the people. Just get them where they can be like, okay, at least I have this secure, like this is fine, and then I can build up from there.
Well, the problem is they put this illusion that everyone's just handed something and then they lost it. Like it's your fault you're homeless. It's your fault you work at McDonald's at 45. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's your fault. Like they post blame on the people, and you act like there's so many people that are so smart, and if they were given the resources to like nourish that, they'd be in a whole different situation in life.
Yeah, because when you have stress of like financial
flight.
stress, I think it hinders you from being able to just think freely and work on stuff
you're in
without
fight or flight.
stress.
Every day is like another day to get through. It's
Yeah.
not a day to like
actually focus on things you
To level
enjoy or
up,
do
yeah.
things. Yeah.
But I mean, that's the American way. So, I mean, yeah.
According to the US
Sorry.
Census,
We, unfortunately, in the United States are at the very high end in terms of income inequality. And so what happens is when the distance gets further and further away, the rungs on the ladder get further away, and it's harder for people to climb those rungs out of poverty into the middle and to the upper class.
the pandemic has made inequality worse. The Gini Index, which measures the nation's income inequality, rose for the first time in a decade by 1.2%
And how many corporations made record-breaking profits?
Yeah, I know.
in 2021.
The reason the pandemic has made that worse is because when you talk to large organizations, corporations, what they saw was that staff was leaving, but they had a response to that, right? Their response was, let's give bonuses, let's give raises. Many organizations, many small businesses, government, they don't have that luxury. So inflation has kept up with the money that most people in the 1% have made, but it has deepened and widened the gap between those that have money and those that do not.
Research by MIT estimates that the living wage in the United States is $24.16 per hour for a family of four. But the federal minimum wage is set at $7.25 per hour.
That's crazy.
This means that a typical family of four needs to work more than 2 full-time minimum wage jobs to earn a living wage.
This is where a big problem lays too.
Oh, minimum wage.
Yeah, it's like, well, they're showing the federal minimum wage. I know it's different state by state, but like Texas is, I think, 7.
Yeah, unless you're a server, you get $2 an hour because
but I will admit, the tips do kind of make up for it.
The tips shouldn't make up for it. The
Yeah,
tips
they should just pay-
be
yeah.
extra. They shouldn't be
They should pay
part of
you
your
at least
hourly
like, at
wage.
least the minimum. Yeah.
yeah, because now you're putting on consumers to pay for the employees straight out of their pockets.
Yeah, that's true.
It's
That's true.
stupid. Sorry. It's just dumb.
It's also very expensive
It's
here
like,
too.
at
Yeah.
what point are we going to realize this is not working? It's just not working.
I'm sure they realize it. They're not
Don't
at
care.
the point where they care to do
It doesn't
something
affect
drastic
them.
about it. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like never going to affect certain people. And that's why things are never going to change, honestly. At least not for anyone who's not insanely rich.
Well, yeah.
A living wage. And single-parent families need to work significantly harder.
We worked at a banquet hall. Any sort of party, we would set it up, come early, set the tables, dishes, plates, silverware, everything, you name it. We worked for $15 an hour. It was really bad. I would say we were really overworked. 13-hour shifts sometimes. We were really frustrated with where we were, but at the same time, it was like, what do we do if we leave? You know, we were at that stage of like, yeah, we hate this job, but we have to keep it to continue going.
Problems with wages are especially worse for workers of certain races.
If we're looking at the broader population of people who are poor or low income, meaning one emergency away from being poor, we're talking about approximately 140 million people. Out of the 140 million, well over 70 million people, well over half of that population are people of color.
The US also suffers from a lack of social safety nets that protect Americans from poverty.
If you look at, for example, the amount of cash that people might get if they're low income, it's very, very minimal.
Right now, we receive welfare, and it's roughly around $250 for my household of 7. And it actually has helped.
For a household of 7, that's crazy.
That's fucking unreal. That is unreal. That's like, what, $32 a person a month?
Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
I don't even know. Is it?
That's one of the things I know that a lot of people, you get like a lot of fight on that as the social safety nets. Like people say like people shouldn't get handouts, and like I was saying earlier.
We know a lot of people who say that.
Yeah.
That are like, you just want to live off the government. Okay, if the government's paying you like $3,000 a month, yeah, that's you wanting to live off the government. $250 a month is like, it's not even groceries.
Yeah.
Us a lot. Sometimes the numbers really don't make sense, because how can a large family just live off a couple $100s, especially now in this day and age where you go to the grocery store, you spend in a few items $100.
Most countries, for example, European countries, have what's known as a child allowance, where if you have a child, you get a certain amount of monthly income to help raise that child. That's pretty common, but in the United States, we don't have anything like that. And in the United States, we don't have universal benefits, for example, health care or child care.
It's also a system that many times is pervasive in actually creating poverty situations. So I'll give you an example. If I'm eligible for Medicaid today, and I'm also eligible for cash assistance, and I'm also eligible for SNAP, if I get a job that provides me even a little bit closer out of poverty, I lose all those benefits immediately, which means that I'm incentivized, if I need health care for my children, and I have a job that's not going to provide it right away, to not look for employment
it doesn't make sense.
that is going to pay me.
And then they get mad at you for not looking for more employment.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
This is what happened in the pandemic too, though. Like they were penalizing people for working.
Yeah.
In a way. They weren't saying it, but it was like you were making less working than you were not working. And then if you were working even just like an hour or two extra, they were like, well, now you don't get any federal assistance for the pandemic, or like, you know what I mean? Like this fucking country is so twisted. Also, why the fuck are they so adamant about us having children when they don't provide resources to make it like doable?
Because they know that more children
like
means more consuming, like more like Disneyland, more this, more products, buying.
I'd rather have my tax dollars go to childcare than the amount that goes to this fucking military.
Yeah,
an
that's true.
amount
I don't even
to
have
make
kids.
me ineligible for certain benefits, right? So while people are working really hard for upward mobility, the systems that we have in place don't give them the grace to be able to come out of poverty and provide their own agency to actually create the opportunity for upward mobility.
The official poverty measure in the US today is based on calculations from the mid-1960s.
Damn, come on.
It's calculated by comparing
because everyone who makes these laws
against
is that
a
old.
threshold set at 3 times the cost of minimum diet in 1963. A large number of federal programs still rely on this measure to figure out who is eligible for assistance and welfare.
The researcher whose work became the basis of that measure never intended it to be used in the way that it currently is, both as a widespread measure of poverty, but then as the basis of all of these different social welfare programs and allocations of resources towards those programs.
It doesn't take certain very obvious indicators into consideration. To start, it looks at pre-tax income, which is not what I'm taking home every day, so that
Yeah, it doesn't make sense
It
either.
also doesn't
Yeah.
look at different family compositions, which absolutely impacts how a family may spend money.
Yeah.
If I am the type of family that has both of my parents living with me, I'm going to spend more.
She's so
It
cute.
doesn't look at expenses around food or childcare. So in many ways, it's incredibly out of date because it has not kept up with the way life has changed for most Americans.
As a response to
Not every household is
The same.
like, not every size fits all for
Yeah.
every household.
They need
You know
to
what
make
I'm
it way
saying?
more dynamic of saying like, well, this family is in this specific situation, so then we should consider X, Y, and Z. Yeah.
I mean, it's not abnormal to have your parents living with you. Like, it's
Yeah.
not. There's a lot of situations that aren't like uncommon. So like, why are they making it like
Yeah, I agree. And it's
know,
also
one
because
size
like,
fits all?
and a lot of people do that too because it's expensive to put a parent in
A
somewhere to
nursing
be cared
home
for.
or-
Yeah. I think that's our biggest issue here, as we talked about too. It's just like is the medical aspect of everything, because that's what really can like someone who's making it above and they're trying to get above and make it to a new job, whatever, blah, 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 like get up on the ladder. And then a medical thing happens and then they're in medical debt and it just drags you all the way
And
back
not
down.
only that, but like if you're on disability for whatever reason because of that, it's
Yeah.
like that's a whole other minimal.
Yeah. And it's expensive. It can be super expensive.
It's expensive to be poor. Like it's more expensive to be poor than it, you know.
Yeah,
than it is to be
yeah,
Fucking
yeah.
rich.
Yep.
Anyway,
right.
sorry.
It's okay.
these criticisms, the Supplemental Poverty Measure was developed in 2011 as an improvement over the existing measure.
It incorporates into the measurement both the cost of basic needs like food, clothing, utilities, but also government transfers and programs. So you could see the effect of government programs in addressing poverty and economic insecurity. It also takes into account geographical differences. So the supplemental poverty threshold is more of a range depending on where you live, your household size, and what your housing status is. So it is more comprehensive. And in that way, it's an improvement on the official poverty measure.
But some experts argue that even the Supplemental Poverty Measure isn't a perfect method.
While it looked to close the gap on certain indicators that the original poverty measure was not taking into consideration, it did not go far enough. Food is one of those places where we are still not taking into account what food may cost in a state like New York versus a state like Mississippi.
Yeah.
So if you have a universal brush for the whole country, you're going to miss a number of people that are either at risk of falling into poverty or are already technically living in poverty but are not counted by the measure.
The Census Bureau told CNBC that both the official poverty measure and the supplemental poverty measure provide a consistent data of poverty measurement, and that the Bureau continually strives to innovate and improve the design and measurement of their well-being statistics. This difficulty in measuring poverty has also led some experts to argue that poverty isn't as serious of an issue as it's made to believe.
Poverty in the United States, in the way it's
horrible.
normally understood, is
If
not
you go to New York or LA and just drive around LA, you will see that it is a big issue. It's
Yeah.
just really in specific locations of the country.
Well, I hate when people are like, "Oh, it's only in these areas," but it's like the areas it's in are the most heavily populated areas
yes,
too.
Yes.
So
yeah,
that should say something.
and it's more and more, and if
It's a lot.
having
it's scary.
firsthand experience and we see it every day, it's a lot. There
It's
really is more and
overwhelming.
more.
It's
yeah.
overwhelming, and it's like we're privileged to say that, you
Yeah.
know. And it's really heartbreaking. It's fucked up. It's sad. It's like I don't know. It's just
A lot of the people have mental issues that are on the street too, that are in poverty.
yeah.
And they're not being taken care of in the proper way. Like, I don't know. I think we brush over the mental health problem that's going on.
Giving people pills to fix it instead of fixing the actual issue. Okay, this is totally like apples and oranges, but just for sake of argument, like there's an Adderall shortage right now. My cousin and I were talking about this last night because she takes it and she hasn't been taking it for long, but I know that there's so many people dependent on it.
Yeah.
The fact that like I hear more about this shortage in day-to-day conversation than I've heard about like any kind of shortage in this country. That just shows how many people are on it.
Yeah.
How many people are dependent on it? And it's like, it's really sad when you see so many people dependent on pharmaceuticals just to get through their day-to-day life. And then you're not thinking, why do so many people need this? How can we fix the reason they need all this? Not every, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because a lot of it really is just like the day-to-day life, like the way systems are set up, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
And I don't know.
It's because here we promote like the go lifestyle, where it's like, if you're not,
there should be a healthy balance. Like,
Yeah,
yeah,
there
we
should
should
be.
we
Yeah.
should be stimulated to do things like,
naturally.
yeah, yes and no. Like, yes, we should all be working. Everyone should be contributing to society. But like exploitation versus working, two different things. Okay.
Yeah.
Like the guy was saying with his family, like, oh, I hate this, but like, what am I supposed to do? Not do it? And I'm not making enough. It's like, that's barely surviving.
Yeah.
What the fuck is the point of that? You know?
Yeah.
Like, it's insane.
It is
And to
also
have
tough
people-
because they have a lot of kids.
Yeah,
Like, there's
and
a
have
big
people
family.
depending on you. I cannot think of anything worse I would rather deal with in my life than
Yeah.
having children depend on me for everything.
Yeah, that would add a huge pressure.
And it's sad because it's mainly a financial issue versus, like, I know I'd be a great mom. I know you'd be a great dad, but I'm not about to bring a child into this world that is going to even, that even can a little bit sense that, like,
Yeah, you don't want them to witness any stress, like especially financial stress.
don't
I
want
think
them to
financial
feel
stress
it.
is the most like mentally taxing.
it is. And people are their worst selves when they're in a situation of survival or fight or flight. Like, that's probably anyway.
Yeah, it's when and then you start.
No one should live that way.
Exactly. Yeah, there should
And-
just be more consideration for, like, I don't know, like there's a difference between just pretty much funding people to do nothing and paying for everything for them and just helping them get a step up.
People want to work. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Unless they're disabled and they actually, like, physically cannot, people want to work. They just don't want to see that paycheck and be like, that's what I
It all
get
goes
for
to-
all that I gave.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. The whole pre-tax thing doesn't make sense either, because
It's robbery, honestly.
Certain
You're taking the money and then you're acting like they're receiving it.
Yeah.
And you're judging based off that.
it doesn't make sense because certain states, like here, they take a lot of tax, like way more tax than other places. So it's like you might get half of what it is pre-tax. Like, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? So it doesn't make sense. But yeah.
Not a big issue at all. It's deliberately miscounted, okay? So the reality is that we have poverty in the United States because the Census Bureau ignores the entire welfare state when it goes to count poverty. You count poverty by saying, well, a household has an income, say, less than $26,000 a year, but all the welfare benefits, or 95% of the welfare benefits, are not counted. They also undercount earnings by about 50%. Therefore,
Damn.
you have a lot of poverty basically because most of the resources that these folks have are not counted.
Unless we can get an accurate number of just how prevalent poverty is in the United States, attempting to eradicate it is close to impossible.
When we don't have those
I don't think they
numbers,
want-
a lot.
Is he trying to justify
No,
why
no.
the poverty level is so high? Is he saying, like, oh, well, you guys aren't counting what they do have?
No,
That's
no,
what
no,
it sounded
no.
like.
He is saying that they're not counting it properly. So what he's saying is they're covering up how much poverty there really is, and they're making it look better than it is by
My
not
bad.
counting certain things.
I misunderstood. Maybe I checked out for a second.
So
I
he
thought he
was-
was saying, like, well, you're not counting all the other stuff they're receiving.
No, no.
So maybe they aren't in poverty, but it's like they wouldn't be receiving that if they weren't in poverty.
he was
Sorry.
going against the Census Bureau and the government and
Got
that,
it.
saying that they're miscalculating it on purpose. So they're making it look better than it actually is, because I think if they actually
Got it. That makes sense,
If they
yeah.
actually showed the specific numbers of how much poverty there is, we wouldn't look like such a great country anymore. Even already where it is now. Yeah. All right.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate when you take a walk around any city here.
Yeah.
A lot of folks who are making policy decisions are flying blind. Whether I'm a large corporation that is looking to invest in an organization or in a city, or whether I am a public official that is trying to figure out how much SNAP is enough SNAP. If I don't have a baseline, there's no way I'm ever going to be solving the problem.
If COVID has proven anything, poverty is an issue that can be resolved with the right policy. Government assistance led to a significant decline in the Supplemental Poverty measure, lifting 45.4 million Americans out of poverty during the height of the pandemic.
Policy, I would say, is one of our strongest tools in fully addressing and eradicating poverty. It is where we can define what the problems are, accurately measure what the problems are, and then design and implement the programs we need to address the true extent of poverty.
Really good example that I'll use is that of the elderly. This is the one real success story in the United States, is we've really been able to reduce the poverty rates amongst the elderly as a result of primarily Social Security and Medicare. So if we didn't have those programs today, poverty rates for the elderly would go from about 10% to 40%.
Damn.
And that
Holy
shows you the
shit.
dramatic impact that government programs and policies can have on reducing poverty.
You can't even take care of the elderly.
No, he's saying that that's one of the only good things that
No,
we do
I
right now.
know, but it's like that's scary. That is scary.
Well,
to think about.
A lot of after the pandemic, certain states are allowing rent increases like to whatever you want. So
Oh, some states don't have protection. Yeah.
yeah, so I was seeing that there are some elderly people that before the pandemic they could afford their place, and now they have like a condo that they can't afford anymore, so they're pushing out elderly of places that they've been living forever because they're increasing rent because they need to make money back for people who weren't able to pay and stuff like that during the pandemic. So
That's unfortunate.
yeah.
It sucks because like the landlord is obviously trying to like make. I don't know. I know
It's a
some
tough
landlords are
situation for
slimy,
both. Yeah.
but yeah, like if
It's tough.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
fucked up.
Yeah.
Figuring out a more accurate method of measuring poverty is a vital step in eradicating the issue.
I would begin with changing how we define and measure poverty.
Sorry.
To include.
Sorry to pause this again. You can skip over if you don't want to hear me. But my take on like the elderly, like Medicare, like a part of me feels like so many of them shouldn't get to a point of where like you're depending on that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So isn't Medicare for low income, or is that just solely
I think
for
that's
elderly?
Medicaid.
Oh, okay. Sorry, there's too much.
I don't know.
The full extent of economic insecurity.
Another way of measuring poverty, and this is a way that European countries and other countries use, is what's known as a relative measure. And so they say, if you fall below 50% of median income, then we're going to count you in poverty. So if the median income was $70,000 and you fell below $35,000, you'd be counted as being in poverty.
More targeted social programs could also have a significant
Oh, that's interesting. So it's 50%. Because here in the United States, a lot of places they do, if you fall at 80%.
Yeah, I think
more.
it's like if it's like 25,000 a year or less or something. It's definitely like in
Well, it depends of the area.
yeah.
So they're saying you're only counted if you fall 80% less. So you have to be really,
Really,
way low.
yeah, to
Yeah.
be considered.
Yeah.
Yeah.
impact
Yay!
on the impoverished community.
You have to
Some
be
of those
poor
programs
to
may
be
include
poverty here.
an expanded child tax credit, the kind of which we saw in 2021 when it was expanded during the pandemic. Raising the minimum wage immediately to at least $15 an hour, but then moving towards a living wage, and guaranteeing that everybody who wants to work can work as a guaranteed ability and access to a good paying job.
I think a really straightforward solution that people have been talking about more recently is the idea of a universal basic income. So here the idea is that if poverty is a lack of income, then a very straightforward way is to transfer some income. Here's the analogy I would use to get people to shift their way of thinking, and it's the analogy of musical chairs. Let's say we have 10 people playing and 8 chairs available. Now, who's going to win and lose at that game? Well, if we focus on the individual level factors, people that were in a bad position when the music stopped and so on. But if we focus on the structure of the game, then 2 people are going to lose out regardless of the individual attributes. And that's what's going on here in the United States. We're focusing on people aren't working hard enough, they're not doing this, they're not doing that, when really the problem is that there aren't enough chairs in the game.
Mic drop. No, I'm just kidding. No, but that's a good point. Yeah, that is a good point.
Chairs. What is he equating chairs to? Resources? Like I don't.
Solution, like opportunities for people.
Do you believe that?
He's saying that would be a solution, is to have more opportunities for people
Yeah.
in general.
Do you believe that though?
that would be a solution?
Sorry, I guess my question is, where are those opportunities going to come from?
From the government, giving a helping hand to people who fall under that poverty line.
Right.
He was saying the universal basic income.
Sorry, to me, I'm thinking opportunities in like a job. Like I'm thinking. Like
well,
that.
yeah, but like, say if you fall under the poverty measure and you.
I just feel like there are enough chairs. We're just not using them. They're like in the shed.
Yeah,
you know?
and yeah. But say like you fall under poverty, and they say, okay, this is your situation. This X amount would be enough to cover your groceries, your bills, and then from that point on, you need to do something to supplement on top of that, like with a part-time job, whatever.
I agree.
That would be.
I feel
That
like
seems
if they
like.
see that, like, well, like I don't know.
And they shouldn't pull away to help you if you're showing signs of wanting to do better and work. That's the problem I think now is like they'll help you, but then if you actually show that you're getting a job, they're gonna take away any help that they give you.
I mean, granted, if you're making a solid salary, then you don't qualify. I just think the standards for qualification are
They don't make sense. Yeah. Seriously.
For these people.
Yeah,
I don't know. I feel bad, and it's like it makes me kind of afraid to get older because I'm like, I don't know what the economy is going to be like in 10 years. I don't know, like, you don't know anything.
Yeah.
Like the way the systems that they tell you to follow from like the 60s and 70s are like, they don't apply now. So
they really don't.
But they implement these like rules and laws as if this is how the world is going to be forever. Thank you for watching, and hope you're having a great day.
Don't forget to like and subscribe, okay? And jump over to our vlog channel. We appreciate it. All right, loners.
Ciao.
Take it easy.
Somebody can adopt us. If anyone has a grandma that lives in Europe and is looking for 2 little American people.
And a dog.
Can adopt us. Yeah, and our dog. Bye.